they refused to pay for rescue. Their 9-month-old baby was dying on the summit, 8,200 feet, ice-covered summit. A Lithuanian couple trapped with their infant, unable to descend. A mountain guide offered rescue, their only chance. They said no. Why? We don't want to pay for it. 4 experts warned them to turn back. They ignored them all. Now, one man faced an impossible choice: abandon the baby or risk his life to save a child whose parents chose money over survival. The fine line between adventure and negligence. Every year in the Tatra Mountains, rescue teams respond to over 2,000 calls. People get lost, injured, unprepared. But one rescue stands apart from all the rest. A story so shocking, it would spark international outrage and raise a question that haunts every parent. Where is the line between building character and endangering your child? It's a question that comes up more often than you'd think. Parents wanting to give their children a life of adventure sometimes push too far, walking a razor-thin line between memorable experiences and real danger. Take Paul Sweeney, an American father who took his 9-year-old son and 11-year-old daughter to climb Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in Western Europe. He wanted them to set a world record. Instead, he led them straight into a section known as the Corridor of Death. Video footage from their climb shows the moment an avalanche hits. The mass of snow trips the children, who were roped together, and sweeps them down the mountain. They were terrified but lucky. Other climbers helped rescue them. When the local French mayor, Jean-Marc Paillex, found out, he was furious. He called the attempt the world record for stupidity and tried to file criminal charges for endangering lives. He said, "Mont Blanc is for serious mountaineers, not a playground for setting records." The mayor's legal action went nowhere because the family had already returned to the United States. But his message was clear. This wasn't adventure. It was reckless. Sometimes danger comes from unexpected places. Doctors have warned parents for years about a common playground injury that happens when a parent puts their toddler on their lap to go down a slide together, thinking they're keeping them safe. If the child's shoe catches on the side, the parent's weight and speed can snap the toddler's leg. One study found thousands of young children injured this way over a decade. It's a simple mistake, born from a desire to protect, showing how easily good intentions can lead to harm. This pattern of misjudgment happens in the wilderness constantly. In March, a mother took her 2 young sons, ages 7 and 11, to climb Mount Rysy in New York during winter. They left the summit far too late, around 4 p.m., just as a whiteout blizzard hit. They lost the trail and spent a freezing night on the mountain. A massive rescue operation involving 26 forest rangers saved them, though they suffered cold-related injuries. These stories, from the deadly slopes of Mont Blanc to a simple playground slide, point to the same difficult truth. There's a fine line between memorable family adventure and terrible negligence. And on a cold October day in Poland, one family was about to cross that line, taking their baby to a place where even experienced climbers fear to go: the 2 faces of Mount Rysy. The place they chose was Mount Rysy. Standing on the border of Poland and Slovakia, this jagged peak in the high Tatra Mountains rises to 2,499 meters, about 8,200 feet, making it the highest and most famous mountain in Poland. Mount Rysy has 2 very different faces. In summer, it's a magnet for hikers and thrill seekers. The views from the top are breathtaking, showing the sharp peaks of the Tatras stretching in every direction. The trail is difficult and rocky, but not a technical climb. Steel chains bolted into the rock face help people up the steepest sections. For those with good hiking shoes and a head for heights, reaching the summit is tough but achievable. This is the mountain's friendly summer face, the one that makes it so popular. But when autumn ends and winter begins, everything changes. The friendly face disappears, replaced by something cold and dangerous. Trails that were rocky paths become covered in thick, hard snow and slick ice. The climb is no longer a hike. it becomes a serious mountaineering challenge. The average slope is a steep 30 degrees, like climbing a very steep staircase. But in the final channel leading to the top, called a couloir, the slope reaches a dangerous 44 degrees. A slip here would be almost impossible to stop. To climb Rysy safely in winter, you need specialized equipment. A helmet protects your head from falling ice or rocks. A sharp ice axe helps you balance and stop yourself if you fall. Most importantly, you need proper crampons, not the little chain spikes for icy sidewalks, but sharp metal frames with long spikes that strap to your boots, allowing you to dig into hard ice. Without this gear and the experience to use it, trying to climb Rysy in winter is like driving on a frozen lake with bald tires. The mountain demands respect, and in winter, it shows no mercy to those who don't come prepared. October 20th, 2025, the warnings begin. That's the situation on a cold day around October 20, 2025, when a Lithuanian couple began their journey up Mount Rysy. The weather was turning, and higher trails were covered in a dangerous mix of hard snow and ice. Strapped to one of them was their 9-month-old baby. On the trail, they met Simon Stark, a professional Polish mountain guide leading his own group up the mountain. He noticed the family immediately, and what he saw sent a chill down his spine. They were carrying a baby, and they were completely unprepared. They had no ice axes, essential for balance and safety on icy slopes. They had crampons, but Stark could see they were the wrong size, making them unreliable and dangerous. Stark's first thought was that they must be going for a short walk, maybe to one of the beautiful mountain lakes lower down. But when he heard they planned to go all the way to the summit, he couldn't believe it. He approached them and gave them the first of many warnings they would receive that day. He tried to talk them out of it, telling them it was too dangerous and they should turn back. They ignored him and kept climbing. But Simon Stark wasn't the only one who tried to stop them. As they made their way up, they were warned again and again. Another guide warned them on the trail. A Slovak mountain rescuer warned them. When they passed Tatra Mountains, a small mountain hut offering shelter to climbers, the staff there warned them too. Think about that for a moment. Not one, not two, but at least 4 different sets of people. Experts who know the mountain intimately told this couple to turn around. They were told the path ahead was treacherous, that they weren't equipped to handle it, especially with a baby. Each warning was a chance to make a safe choice, a moment to turn back and try another day. But they didn't. They listened to the warnings and chose to defy them. They pushed onward and upward past the mountain lakes, past the shelter, into the most dangerous part of the climb. With every step, they took their baby higher into the freezing, unforgiving world of the winter peaks. What were they thinking? What goal could possibly be so important that it was worth ignoring expert advice, risking not just their own lives, but the life of their infant child? It was a slow-motion disaster, a tragedy unfolding one defiant step at a time. Number, the summit? Trapped somehow against all odds, they made it. The Lithuanian couple with their 9-month-old baby reached the summit of Mount Rysy. For a brief moment, they must have felt victorious. They had ignored the warnings, pushed through dangerous conditions, and stood on the roof of Poland. They had done what everyone told them was impossible and irresponsible, but their victory was short-lived. At the summit, a terrifying reality hit them. The climb up had been hard. The climb down would be a nightmare. Looking down the steep, icy slopes they had just struggled over, they realized they were trapped. Going down is often much harder and more dangerous than going up. The ice they had carefully picked their way over on the ascent now looked like a sheer, slippery slide into nothingness. Their brief moment of triumph turned into pure fear. They were stuck. That's when they saw Simon Stark again, the guide who had warned them hours earlier. The father, no longer defiant, walked over, his voice filled with desperation. He asked for help. Could he borrow Stark's crampons? Could Stark help them get down? Stark faced a difficult choice. He couldn't lend them his equipment. That would put his own life at risk. More importantly, he explained he couldn't tie them together with a rope to lead them down. As an experienced guide, Stark knew a terrible truth about mountain rescues. Roping unprepared people together is incredibly dangerous. If one person slipped, and with their improper gear, a slip was almost certain, their weight would pull everyone else down. It would turn a rescue attempt into a catastrophe. Stark told them there was only one truly safe option: call for help. He offered to alert the Slovak Mountain Rescue Service, who could send professionals, possibly with a helicopter, to get them and their baby off the mountain safely. It was logical, responsible, the only way to guarantee their child's safety. And that's when the parents said something so shocking it would soon be heard around the world. They refused to call for rescue. They said no. Their reason had nothing to do with pride or belief they could make it on their own. Their reason was money. They didn't have travel insurance and were afraid of how much a professional rescue would cost. As the Facebook page Tatra Maniac, which first reported the story, put it in the most chilling way possible, they preferred to risk their child's life rather than pay for rescue. The summit hadn't created their problem, it had only revealed it. The bad decisions they made at the bottom, to climb without proper gear, to ignore all warnings, had led them to this single awful choice at the top. The real trap wasn't the ice and snow. The trap was a mindset that valued money more than a child's life. The impossible choice. The situation at the summit was now a stalemate, a standoff between recklessness and responsibility. The parents couldn't get down safely, but they refused to call for help. And in the middle of it all was a 9-month-old baby, cold and helpless, its life hanging in the balance. Simon Stark faced an impossible choice. He couldn't force the parents to call for rescue. He couldn't safely lead them down. But he also couldn't walk away and leave that child in obvious peril. He looked at the parents. He looked at the baby. He knew what he had to do. He made a decision that went far beyond the normal duties of a mountain guide. He told the parents he would carry the baby down himself through the most dangerous part of the descent. They agreed. Stark took the small child into his arms. Now the weight of this rescue, the burden of this child's life, was literally on his shoulders. He was an experienced climber who knew he could get himself down safely. But carrying a baby changed everything. Every single step had to be perfect. He began the slow, careful journey down the icy mountain. As the Tatra Maniac blog described it, he moved step by step with full focus. Imagine the pressure. He had to navigate treacherous terrain, his sharp crampons biting into ice, all while holding a baby, making sure the child was secure and protected from cold and wind. One wrong move, one moment of lost concentration, could have been fatal for them, both. He was a guardian, the only person on that mountain putting the child's safety first. He carried the baby down the steepest, most difficult section of the trail. Once they reached a safer place where immediate danger had passed, he handed the child back to the parents, who had been following carefully behind. His job was done. Later, at the mountain hut below, he saw the family again briefly before their paths separated for good. In a later interview, Stark said he decided to share the story and a photo he took to warn others, to stop anyone else from attempting something so dangerous. He didn't seek praise or attention. He was just a man who saw a child in danger and did what was necessary. As the person who first shared the story wrote, Simon Stark, with a high degree of probability, saved that child's life. He took on a hero's burden and carried an innocent child back to safety. The aftermath? Viral outrage. The family, thanks to Simon Stark, made it down the rest of the mountain without serious injuries. They were physically safe, but their story was far from over. In the age of the internet, their actions would not go unnoticed. Footage and accounts of what happened on Mount Rysy quickly spread online. The story went viral, appearing on news sites and social media platforms worldwide. With the attention came a massive wave of public anger and disbelief. People were horrified by the parents' decisions. Comments were filled with outrage. One person wrote, "It's unbelievable how they threatened the life of a baby. I hope the police will deal with it." Another said, "Bringing a 9-month-old up a dangerous mountain without gear is beyond reckless." Many called for the parents to be reported to authorities for child endangerment. The founder of the Tatamaniac page, himself a father, said it was the most shocking situation I have ever reported, adding that it left him speechless. The world had delivered its verdict. What these parents did was wrong, and there should be consequences. The border loophole. The police in Zakopane, the Polish town at the base of the Tatras, were aware of the incident, but they soon announced their hands were tied. There was a critical detail that put the family beyond their reach. Mount Rysy sits directly on the border between Poland and Slovakia. The family had started their climb from the Slovak side. Because of this, the incident was outside Polish police jurisdiction. They couldn't investigate or press charges. Police spokesman Roman Vicek explained what would have happened if the family had started on the Polish side. They would have launched a full investigation, consulting TOPR rescuers and other experts. If they believed a crime had been committed under Article 160 of the Polish Penal Code, which deals with exposing a person to direct danger of losing their life, the parents could have faced up to 5 years in prison. This wasn't just theoretical. Police mentioned a similar case from earlier that year where a father took his 9-year-old daughter into the mountains in very bad weather. He was charged under that same law. But for the Lithuanian couple, there would be no charges, at least, and not in Poland. A simple line on a map, an invisible border running across the top of a mountain, protected them from legal consequences. It was a frustrating end to the story. The court of public opinion had found them guilty, but the law couldn't touch them. The world's verdict was clear, but the official verdict was silence. The thin line. The rescue on Mount Rysy was a victory for one man's courage, but the story itself is a cold reminder of something important. The most dangerous journey in the mountains isn't always over ice and rock, but across the thin line that separates adventure from negligence. Parents face this line constantly. They want to give their children experiences, to build resilience, to create memories. But when does healthy challenge become dangerous exposure? When does pushing boundaries become pushing too far? The Lithuanian couple's decisions that day show what happens when that line gets crossed. They ignored expert warnings, not once, but 4 times. They brought inadequate equipment. They climbed in dangerous conditions. And when faced with the consequences, they prioritized money over their child's safety. Simon Stark's heroic act saved the baby, but it shouldn't have been necessary. He was forced into an impossible position because 2 parents made a series of catastrophically bad choices. The lesson isn't that parents shouldn't take their children on adventures. Mountains, wilderness, and challenging experiences can be incredible gifts for young people. The lesson is that those adventures must be appropriate, prepared for, and approached with humility and respect for the dangers involved. Every expert on that mountain that day told the couple the same thing. Turn back. Your child is in danger. The conditions are wrong. You're not prepared. They ignored it all. And when they finally realized their mistake at the summit, when fear replaced defiance, they still couldn't bring themselves to do the right thing. They couldn't call for help because it would cost money. Think about that. On top of a frozen mountain, holding their 9-month-old baby unable to safely descend, they said no to rescue because of the price tag. It's a decision that reveals something dark about priorities, about judgment, about what matters most when everything is on the line. What happens next? The story raises uncomfortable questions about accountability. Should there be international agreements for incidents like this that occur on borders? Should parents face consequences when they endanger their children, even if they technically didn't break any laws? Some countries have already started taking action. France, after the Mont Blanc incident with the American father, has discussed stricter regulations and criminal penalties for parents who endanger children in the mountains. Poland clearly has laws on the books. The father with his 9-year-old daughter faced charges. But enforcement is complicated. Mountains cross borders. Tourists come from everywhere. Jurisdiction becomes murky. And defining the exact point where adventure becomes endangerment isn't always clear-cut. What is clear is this: expertise matters. When multiple mountain professionals tell you to turn back, they're not being overly cautious or spoiling your fun. They're trying to save your life, or in this case, your child's life. The Tatras rescue over 2,000 people every year. That's more than 5 rescues every single day. Many of those are people who got in over their heads, who underestimated the mountains, who ignored warnings or came unprepared. Simon Stark was one of the lucky ones. He successfully saved the child and got everyone down safely. But not every story ends that way. Not every child has a Simon Stark on the mountain when their parents' judgment fails. Number 1. The hero's burden. Simon Stark didn't have to do what he did. He warned the family. He offered the proper solution: call for professional rescue. When they refused, he could have walked away. He had his own clients to guide, his own safety to consider. But he saw a baby in danger, and he couldn't turn his back. So he took on the hero's burden. He carried that child down some of the most dangerous terrain in Poland, every step a risk, knowing that one slip could kill them both. He did it because someone had to, because an innocent child shouldn't pay for their parents' terrible decisions. Heroes shouldn't have to exist in situations like this. The need for heroism is often a symptom of someone else's failure. Stark was heroic, yes, but he was put in that position by 2 adults who made choice after choice that endangered their baby. After the rescue, Stark didn't celebrate. He shared the story as a warning. He hoped it would prevent future tragedies, that other parents would see what happened and think twice before putting their children at risk. That's the mark of a true hero. Someone who acts not for glory, but because it's necessary, and who uses their experience to try to protect others. The final question. So we return to where we started. What makes a parent choose money over their own child's life? Maybe it's not that simple. Maybe they genuinely didn't understand the danger. Maybe they thought they could make it down on their own. Maybe pride wouldn't let them admit they needed help. But here's what we know for certain. They were warned, repeatedly, by experts, and they chose to ignore every warning. And when they finally realized they were in trouble, when they were trapped at the summit with their baby, they still couldn't bring themselves to prioritize their child's safety over their wallet. That's not a momentary lapse in judgment. That's a pattern of poor decisions, each one compounding the last, until you're standing on a frozen summit with your infant, unable to get down, and saying no to the one person trying to save you. The story of Mount Rysy isn't really about mountaineering. It's about judgment, about priorities, about the responsibility we have to protect those who can't protect themselves. It's about the line between adventure and negligence, and what happens when that line gets crossed. And it's about heroes like Simon Stark, who step up when others fail, who carry the weight, literally and figuratively, of someone else's mistakes, because a child's life is worth more than any summit, any adventure, any amount of money. The baby is safe. The parents faced no consequences. But the question remains, how many more stories like this will we hear before something changes?